the spirit of partnership and collaboration, this year, 2024, we welcome all of you and we wish you a prosperous business year, especially for all farmers and potential farmers. My name is Enyinam, and if this is your first time on the Ghanaian Farmer, you're most welcome. But I want you to help me by subscribing and sharing the link of every video you watch. This is a platform where you get to watch everything agric, from the farmer to the processor to the trader, everything that you want. This is your number one platform for you to stick to. So this year we're going to bring you up to speed on other people who are into content creation as well as farmers as well. And we have come all the way to Brekum to visit one of our favorite content creators and also a livestock farmer farming in Africa, Osamensha Fred. Here is it. So a lot of you, after watching my video with him during the Agri Fest at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, you wanted more about the goats because the interest for goat farming keep rising every now and then. So we are here just to do you that favor, but enlightening you about how to start. What breed do I start with? How many do I start? What do I even feed them? In recent times, thanks to real estate people, we are driving our farmers deep into the forest, and feeding is becoming a problem as well. But today the focus will be on the goat farming, and then afterwards we'll focus our energy on the feed. So I'm going to dive into goat farming episode with Fred, and then afterwards we'll look at the other area. My name is Anyinam. When you see me in town, remember to call me Ghana's finest farmer. You know, I'm fine just like that. Thank you very much, Fred, for joining me.
You're welcome.
Now, so a lot of people have interest in livestock farming.
Yeah.
The very common one when it comes to Ghana is poultry.
Yeah.
Then we look at the guinea fowl.
Yeah.
Duck is not too popular.
Yeah.
But then goat, sheep, and cow comes to mind. However, let's look at goats.
Okay.
When we mention goat farming, what particular or type of livestock farming are we talking about?
I mean, it is the ruminant. Is it more of the small ruminants?
Yeah.
So you can look at the cattle farm. Where we are standing actually used to be a cattle ranch.
Okay.
So if you look back, you can see that was your ranch and feedlot.
Okay.
So we've done cattle here before, but goat falls under the small ruminant, which is the goats. Now you have grass cutter coming up, and then you have the sheep farming as well. So that's where I'll put goat farmers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, as a fresh farmer or a startup farmer,
Yeah.
who is beginning to develop an interest for goat farming, first of all, does location matters? If I want to go into goat farming, does location matters? Or anywhere I have a piece of land and just start my goat farming?
Location definitely matters. I mean, in so many different angles, depending on how you want to take it. I mean, location will determine your market, right? If you're in a community where they don't eat goats, then you don't have a market. If you want to sell to in the city, then you need to be closer to. So the location counts. Size of land will depend on the amount of goats you want to actually put on that land.
Okay.
The nature of land. Not all farmland are also viable for livestock farming. So location is everything.
Okay.
What are you going to plant to feed them? What kind of weed or plants grow there, right? You have toxic plants. So location is everything, depending on which angle you want to take it.
Okay. In your course of going into this goat business,
Yeah.
do we have breeds or varieties of goats?
Yes, we have a lot,
Okay.
a lot that I always even continue to learn. Recently, I was in South Africa and I met a goat that I've never seen in my life, and I think they were called the Angoras. You know, they originated from Turkey. Small but very. They have a lot of wool and they use it for fabric.
Right.
So breeders of that goats are not breeding them for either meat or milk. But just for their wool.
Okay.
And they will shave it every like 6 months, clean it up, ship it to Turkey.
Okay.
And that is somebody's job. That's a goat breeder's job. Not for meat, not for milk, just for wool. And he's making money and sustaining his business.
Right.
There are other goats that you can use for meat, like the Boers, the Kalahari, the Savannas. Then there are the ones like the Alpines, the Senines that you can use for milk. So depending on what kind of business you want to go into.
Okay. Considering what you are doing, farming in Africa, which ones do you have here, and why those specific breeds?
Yeah. So, Sementia Farm to us is an L&D farm,
Okay.
right? We have the potential of going large scale. When I tell people we're doing L&D, they to most people it's commercial to them, but to me to go commercial is thousands of goats, right? At the moment, what we're doing is trying to experiment, test a lot of these breeds.
Okay.
So we have the West African dwarfs, which are goats in West Africa, most commonly from Nigeria. We also have the Boa goats, which are the pure originated goats from South Africa. Then we have the Kalahari Red, which was bred from the Boa goats.
Okay.
And then the Savannah goat as well, which is a very plain white goat, also originated from the Boa goat.
Okay.
Then we have the Sahelian goat. They also come from Mali, Niger. So basically the Sahel deserts over there. So we have those there. What we're trying to do here is to try and understand these goats, understand their adaptability, understand what food works for them, what diseases, and we are harnessing that knowledge because that's the knowledge that's going to help a lot of people watching us to be successful.
Okay.
Trust me, it saddens my heart anytime I hear the amount of money farmers are losing because they invest in it wrongly without the knowledge, without the experience. And I think somebody needs to pay that fees. And we've decided to pay that fees. And that's why we have all these various breeds. So we are not really targeting like meat or or milk. What we're trying to do is to build a concept that is workable, that we can take and confidently give it to somebody or even scale it up ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I have, let's say, an acre of land, is that okay to start my goat farm?
It is okay to start a goat farm, but with a minimum number.
What's the minimum?
So it depends on how you want to raise your goat. So if you want to do full intensive, semi-intensive, random grazing, right? We here are promoting both either semi-intensive or full intensive because we believe that for us to be able to scale, and we also growing, we can continue doing farming like we used to do in the olden days and still expect different results. So in order to do that, you have to be able to confine your animal. I always say as farmers, especially livestock farmers, we have a very bad reputation when it comes to scale because the more we scale with our traditional method, the more harm we do to other crop farmers. So in order to solve that, we need to be able to go into the intensive system where we fence our land and be able to provide feed. So this gives you various varieties or different types of farming or goat farming. So if you're doing intensive, that means that why are goats out? They're out looking for food and water. So that means that you need to provide them. With your 1 acre, is your food source coming from there? Or are you bringing it from somewhere? Are you also buying processed food? Because once you confine them, you are limiting them to some nutrients that they need. So all that takes into consideration. But with about 1 acre of land, I personally, with the resource I have and with growing my own food, will be able to start maybe with about 20 goats.
20?
Yes.
How many male, how many female?
I would do about 19 or 20 females, 1 male. Yes.
You want to kill the male?
No, you don't kill the male. So one male goat can actually service about 30 to 34 females in a month. Right. So once you introduce, and what you do is you also need to program your breeding season. You can't let your goat get pregnant anyhow. You need to choose the month which they get pregnant, the month which they deliver. And goats also come on heats, just like human beings. So you need to know the gestation period. You need to know when your goat comes home so that you introduce a male.
So 1 male to 19 female is okay.
It's perfect.
Now, at what stage do I buy the goat to start my farm? Is it a fully matured male or a 6-month-old is okay? What age will you advise that I buy?
So first of all, I advise you even buy females first. Males are the most important thing you want to invest your money into. Because if you get the right genetic, a good future male, a good temperament male, then your offsprings are going to be the best. So I would say spend money on the females, then take your time and look for the right male that you see and you're like, this is the guy I want to have breed my goats. So So you buy your female, you buy your males. At what age you want to buy them? There are two ways. For profitability, I would say you always buy a matured goat.
Okay.
A matured goat, because once it comes, you can just cross it. Most of them, because of the system of farming we do here, most of them will actually come pregnant.
Okay.
Because they're randomly grazing and somebody might cross them. So for you, the farmer, you will profit from it quickly. But the disadvantage to that, from my point of view, is because you don't know or trust the farm they are coming from, they might not get the initial nutrients they need to grow better.
Yeah.
So their growth rate also diminishes. But if you get them younger and you yourself know that you're confident in what you're feeding, the program you have, then you can get them to be matured quickly.
Okay.
And that means that it will reflect on the breeding program that you're
Right.
going to have.
Okay.
Right. But I understand, being realistic, our market here doesn't give us that opportunity, right? So I would say get a matured goat and start with the offspring.
Okay.
And maximize your profit quickly.
Right. Do I buy pregnant ones or buy ones that will come to my farm and then the male gets across them and they get pregnant? Which is which? Is it okay to buy a pregnant one already, or I should just buy a female that is not pregnant?
I think it's okay to buy a pregnant one if you're just producing for consumption.
Okay.
Again, what kind of business do you want to do? So here, for example, we produce not for consumption but for farmers.
Okay.
Right? So with that, I need to know which male crossed it. So it's very important to me that when a farmer is buying, he has the background of that goat to be able to make sure that there's no inbreeding.
Okay.
But when you buy it and you don't know the sir,
Right.
then you have to start a whole new bloodline again.
Oh, okay.
So again, it depends on what
Right.
you're using.
Talking about the number,
Yeah.
the 19
Yeah.
to start off with, roughly,
Yeah.
how much do you think I would need as a startup farmer?
What you need in terms of purchasing your stock. Don't forget there are some initial costs, which
That
is
will
building
cover.
your
Yes,
pen,
the
buying. Depending on where you buy it, if you go into rural areas or you go all the way to the north, you can get a goat on an average maybe 500 cities.
Okay.
Right, but if you're buying it from the south, which is around Accra, then you're looking at somewhere 1,000, 1,200.
Yes.
Right, so based on these numbers, look at your capital, and then you can decide how many you can buy.
You can buy.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if I buy the goats, do I buy from the same farm, or I have to scatter, buy from farming in Africa, go and buy from this person? Can I buy all of them from one end or separate place? Which is best?
So if you're buying local goats, it doesn't matter now.
Okay.
Because all our goats are crossbreed.
Right.
And that's why we have set up this farm.
Okay.
To be able to start a new bloodline
Okay.
that is traceable.
Right.
Right? Because now if you go and buy a goat from here, that goat was bought from here. Nobody's keeping record. None of our goats here have records. So it's all crossbreeded. So here, that's why they have tags. So all our goats are tagged. So when A crosses B, we know that their offspring is C, and therefore A is not going to cross this one again. So we're able to keep that track.
Okay.
But at the moment, if you're buying local goat, I will not worry myself about buying it from different places,
Okay.
because I think they
They're all the same.
diluted.
They're all the same.
But obviously, if you can get different, that's great. But I wouldn't worry myself at this stage.
Okay. At what time in the month does a female goat get pregnant? Even though you said the farmer can dictate when you can cross them and everything.
Yeah.
Under normal circumstance, at what time in the month does a female goat get pregnant? How long does the pregnancy take?
Yeah.
And my first birth,
Yeah.
minimum, how much am I expecting?
So you mean how many kids
Yes,
are you expecting?
yes.
Okay. So a goat can get pregnant at any time.
Okay.
At the moment it's exposed. So let's take a baby goat for example. So a baby goat, and then it grows up, depending on what kind of goat, some say 8 months, some 1 year, some 2 years, it's fully matured, it's on heat. That time, that month that goat is on heat can be crossed. Once that goat is crossed, it's going to take that goat about 154 days.
Okay.
50 to 54 days
Right.
for that goat to give birth.
Okay.
So we're looking at about 5 months. So once that goat gives birth 5 months, you're expecting an average of 2. They can
Okay.
give birth to 1, but mostly 2. If it's well fed and healthy, it will be able to give you 3.
How do I know my female goat is on heat and I have to cross it?
Yeah.
What do I see?
Yeah. So you will see different signs.
Okay.
So like the tail,
Right.
it will be winging the tail.
Okay.
So always, you also want to separate your male from your female, right? So when your male is in the other pen and your female is the other pen, it will definitely be going to the male and be crying,
Okay.
right? At night, especially they
Right.
will. What we do here is we do what we call natural synchronization.
Okay.
So what that is the moment we see that a goat is on heat, what we'll do is we will put them aside and wait for the next month.
Okay.
Because what we want here is we want all the goats to get pregnant at the same time
Okay.
and give birth at the same time.
Right.
It just makes management and expectation much easier.
Okay.
So we wait for all of them to come on heat in 1 month, and then the next month we introduce them to a male.
Okay.
Once they sense a male, they will all come on heat at the same time,
Okay.
and within a few days the male will cross all
All
of them.
of them.
So that means that all your goats get pregnant at the same time, they give birth at the same time for you.
Okay. If I want to go into commercial goat farming, do you advise I deal in only the local breeds, or I should buy foreign ones to actually cross it?
Yeah.
What do I do? A commercial goat farmer.
I think it depends on your market, what you're trying to achieve.
Okay.
But personally, for profitability, I would say go in for the foreign goats if you can afford it. Why? Because the foreign goats has value.
Okay.
So let me use time for example. We all have maybe 8 days, working days. I invest my 8 working days into a local goat. You invest your 8 working days into a foreign goat.
Yeah.
At the end of a year, I will sell my foreign goat for $1,000, $1,500. You will sell your local goat for how much? $100, $50.
Right.
Exactly. So it's value for money.
Okay.
So as a businessman, I'm
Yes.
looking at more returns, right? Where do I put my time? In South Africa, they have the foreign goats. So a South African goat farmer is way richer than a Ghanaian goat farmer.
Exactly.
So that's then up to you to make that business decision, right? But I think we should all gear towards having those foreign goats. What we are trying to do here is we know that cost is expensive, but how can we crossbreed and improve our local genetics and get it to a point where we can add value? Once we are selling it, we can say, hey, this is not your normal local goat. An average weight of a local goat is about 17 kg. Can we move that to like 30 kg so that instead of selling it for $100, we can sell it for $200, $300?
That's
right?
better.
And that is the goal.
So it takes 2 years to fully mature, 5 months, a carry pregnancy for 5 months to give birth. But how many times in a year can my goats deliver?
So it doesn't take 2 years for it to fully mature. It can mature in 1 year, in 1.5 years, depending on how well you feed that goat. Right, the foreign ones can actually start breeding 8 months. Right, so it depends on, but local ones I would say 1 and 1.5 years. In a year, if you work out well, you can actually do 2, but 2 is very tight. So mostly what we'll do is we'll do 3 in 2 years. And then you expect 2, so you then get 6 plus your mother and father 8 in 2 years. And that is so that you let the mom also rest. And regain their strength.
How long can your goat live for?
On an average, the local West African dwarf goats live about 5 to 6 years. But a typical goat, the record is they can go up to 10 years.
That's a long time.
That is a very long time.
Wow. Are there any particular diseases that affect goats? And what do I see? How do I treat or care for them to actually limit that infection?
This is a whole topic in one question. So I will look at it this way. I'll break it this way. So there are viruses, then there are bacteria. Right? So the bacteria you definitely have and then there are the parasites. So these 3 things are what I care for at the farm. So viruses are diseases that like like you need your PPRs and so on. Those are vaccinations that you need to give on like a monthly 6 months or yearly basis. So that is it. Then it comes to fighting your bacteria. So your bacteria, everywhere. So that's when you need antibiotics, so that you prevent.
Okay.
So if it has a bacteria from what something is eating or something, then you give him an antibiotics to fight the bacteria. Then the last thing is you have your parasites.
Okay.
Is it a worm, or is it a tick, or is it lice? So the endo ones are the ones inside, which are the tapeworms, the roundworms, and so on, that you have to deworm them.
Okay.
And there are different signs to show you that these goats needs to be dewormed. You can open the eye and see. The same way, you know, when we're kids, our mom will check if we are, we will tell you whether you need to deworm the goats or not. The hip bones will tell you that. Runny nose, like different things that as a farmer you need to know to be able to determine. Then the ecto ones are basically, you know, ticks.
Okay.
So you need to inspect your goats to make sure that they don't have ticks on their body.
Okay.
And that you can use different chemicals like pour on and so on, spray them to get rid of that. So these three things are what really causes death and diseases in goats.
Okay. How what is the advantage and disadvantage of doing a free range goat farming? That is, I can open them to go and graze and then come back, versus me keeping them in an enclosed area and giving them feed. What is the advantage and disadvantage of these two practices or these systems?
I think the biggest disadvantage is that they will not come back.
Bless them, will find them in town.
Exactly. So you leave them, they go, you know, somebody gets stick, hits them, you know, a car hits them on the road. So many different issues. So that is the biggest thing, right, with random grazing. Again, you also don't control the food that they eat. But once you set it as intensive farming, you're much more protected, right? You can also you can actually determine what kind of food you give to them, right? Managing them is also very easy. One of the biggest disadvantage that we have here with intensive farming is dealing with parasites. Okay. Right? Even with grazing like this, you cannot let them graze in one area for more than a week. Okay. Because as they are pooping, their poop then turns into worms. Those worms in the morning are climbing up. So as they are here eating, they are eating that worm. But when they are roaming randomly, you don't have that issue. Exactly. When you keep them in a pen and you don't keep that pen clean, you're introducing parasites to yourself. Okay. Right? So if you are doing intensive, then your management needs to be on point. The issue in West Africa is that we don't have big size of lands. Exactly. So it's not like in South Africa where people have hectares and can leave them roaming with no issue. So if you really want to do it as a proper business and commercially, your only option is to intensify them. But you need to make sure that your management is on point. Is goat farming expensive or less expensive, and is it profitable? Is it worth it? Because this is plenty English you are saying. It is a lot of work for me. Is it worth my investment? Yeah. I think I look at it from the value and then from the multiplication side. Okay. Right? I've done cattle. It's too long. It locks up my money. It's not quick enough. Cow give birth once a year. Okay. It will take that cow like 2 years to breed again. Okay. And I sell that cow even if 8,000 now. It's too long for me, and it want to grow faster too, right? Goat is profitable because, you know, they give birth on an average 2 and 3, and they can also give birth more often for you. There is demand for goats. Okay. And goats takes so little to start. If I have 1 acre, I might not even be able to have 2 cows. But with goats, I can have all the way up to about 20 goats on a 1 acre. Right. So the cost, the initial capital to start is also very small with goats. And that's why I choose goats over any livestock. He choose goats over any livestock. The show is still the Ghanaian farmer. And my name is Enyonam. We are all the way in Brekum. This is our first time coming here. And of course, we started the year with farming in Africa. They have been doing a lot of education in the area of goat farming. The revelation they are bringing is interesting. And I want to encourage you that if you're out there thinking of livestock farming, these interviews should encourage you or should be an eye-opener why you should choose goat farming. Now we're going for a quick bit, and when we come back, I'll ask him about some of the basic practices that you need to adhere in your farm just to make sure that you get the expected result that you need to do. Let me go and sip some water. I'll be right back after this.
right, so thanks for staying. You're still watching The Ghanaian Farmer, and the focus today is enlightening you about livestock farming, specifically on goat farming. And we are in the premises or in the farm of Sementia Farms or Farming in Africa. They are on YouTube. You can look for them and watch a lot of videos about livestock farming. We are about to wrap up our interview on goat farming. But as a startup farmer, if I don't have this experience as you were talking about, what are some of the basic tips that you can give me just to make sure that I get the result that, or I limit the challenges that I'll be encountering along the way?
Yeah. I think my first advice to you, if you're a startup farmer or you're new to this, is start small. It's okay to dream big, but you don't need to start big, right? There is a lot you have to learn. And as I was telling you today, in farming, one thing that I've learned is every year has its own challenges. So as experienced as you are, when it rains too much, it has a challenge that is going to bring you. It doesn't matter if it's rained before. If the wind blows too hard, it will come with a challenge that you need to deal with. So be prepared for that. Start small so that you're capable. You can manage it. If it's too big, it will fall off and you will lose your investment. I started from my house. So I started with 2 goats inside my house, where every day I wake up in the morning, I check on them. When I'm eating, I'm checking on them, and learning the symptoms and so on and so forth, right? And watch videos like this, learn. The knowledge is most important. Most people think because they don't have money, they can't start. But because you don't have the knowledge, you shouldn't even start, right? So it's not about the money, it's about the knowledge. Trust me, otherwise the fees you will pay, wherever you got the money, you will regret taking it. So please, seek the support, seek the help that you need, and learn. Put that into practice as you learn, but as small as it is, and then you can actually ask yourself, is this what I want to do?
Okay.
Does this really meet my expectation? Am I willing to give the kind of commitment this requires? And when you're able to answer all these questions and you're ready, then I'm sure you can go in commercially, because it is a good business and I wouldn't want to be selfish.
Okay. And then lastly, putting all these breeds from different countries together. This person is from a different parent. He is from a different, I'm from a different. Isn't there any form of illness that might transfer from this person to that? And the feed, let's say you brought a goat from South Africa to Ghana. They eat a different feed there. Doesn't the feed also, cause any problem or challenges along the way? How do I handle that? Are they okay coexisting? Is there any common disease that can be transferable from one person to the other? How do I keep all these things as well?
So definitely there are, because of the environment. Even with parasites, you can have different parasites in South Africa that's not in Ghana. And that is why we work very closely with the veterinary service. Before we bring every animal, we do blood testing, and make sure that we have all the vaccination. The Ghana government has a list of vaccination that we need to do before the animals even come in here. So we'll do all that to prevent, right? And sometimes, actually, I think last month or 2, they actually even came to our farm as well, collected blood samples, and then did their test. All this is to prevent us from introducing or bringing other diseases into the country. In terms of food, so that's the health side. In terms of feeding, goats will eat whatever goats eat. There are no foreign goats who doesn't eat this food. They will eat everything. But know that goats is the second animal with the most fastest metabolism. So deer is number 1. Goats, if you change goat's feed today, or you give them a different amount versus what you give to them, they're going to have diarrhea. And a diarrhea can kill a goat. So you need to be very consistent with your goat feed once you introduce them. The moment you bring a goat from a new environment to a different environment, you're definitely going to be exposed to having some diarrhea issue before their stomach adjusts. And the best way, of course, is using their poop to check and then monitoring that. But diarrhea is easy to treat. So within 2 to 3 days, you should be able to treat that.
Okay, so this is what time would allow us. I'm sure there is a lot more. You see these 2 people, oh Jesus, we can talk to break the record. Guinness World, we have to break it. We can talk to break the record. But finally, if someone is looking for you, aside the goat farming. Is there any other way you can help someone who want to start afresh?
Yeah.
How do we find you, and what are some of the services that you offer that they can tap into?
Yeah. So I think what farming in Africa is trying to do is not just give you gold or just the education,
Okay.
but also build an ecosystem to protect your investment.
Okay.
I'm a businessman. I love business,
Right.
and I want to make sure that before I tell people to do something, I can provide them a full package. So even though we have breeding goats here, we also have an agro shop that has all the chemicals, the medications, the vaccinations that you need
For your goat.
Right. So we
Okay.
have a health plan
Okay.
that once you source gold from us,
Right.
we're able to share with you
Okay.
with the medication, and you follow exactly that health plan.
Right.
When it comes to feed too, as you know, we grow our own feed. So we have seeds, variety of seeds that we sell to farmers
Okay.
to plant
Okay.
to feed their goat.
Right.
We also have processed feed that has all the nutrients and minerals that you need to be able to feed your goats with.
Okay.
We are on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Farming in Africa.
Okay.
Check us up and let us know if we can help you.
Okay, so that's it. Check them out on all the social media handles that he's mentioned, and they'll help you. But trust me, if you want a livestock farming that is less stressful, but then very economical, and you can still make your margins, then you want to consider goat farming. Apart from this interview, you can reach out to them. Their numbers and every other thing is over there. Your number is there, right?
Yeah.
On the
Oh, yes.
So you can pick their number, call them, and then engage them. They help you. I love the fact that they have a whole plan to guide you through the process. My name once again is Daniela, and this has been the Ghanaian Farmer. Happy New Year. I love you all. Let's keep watching the Ghanaian. There's more to come this year. Thank you very much, Fred.
Thank you, Agna.